Chapter 71 Qingshan's Rebirth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The soft moonlight shines through the windowsill and falls on Ling Feng's body. Under the moonlight, Ling Feng was covered in silver light, as if he were a statue, sitting quietly cross-legged, like an old monk in meditation. As time passed, wisps of faint red light flickered around Ling Feng. The air around him was filled with a hot and domineering aura. The bed under him was covered in that terrifying heat. Become slightly browned, after a long time, Ling Feng opened his eyes, with a look of joy on his face. It's done. The 10th level of Qi condensation has reached the so-called airbender realm. Ling Feng clenched his fists, and unprecedented power filled his limbs. The first 9 levels of Qi condensation realm can be said to be a process of accumulating true energy. Only when the 10th level of Qi condensation is reached and the Qi veins in the body are connected, the true energy will be as continuous as a torrential river. When running, there will be no stagnation at all, and you can send and receive as you please. No wonder those air benders who are both in the Qi condensation realm are so much stronger than the warriors at the 9th level of Qi condensation. Only a monster like Ling Feng can do such a heaven-defying thing as resisting the murder of Qi Sect when he is in the 7th level of Qi condensation. At this time, the night is still long and dark, and the cold crickets can't help crying. Ling Feng took a deep breath, suppressed the joy in his heart, gathered his mind again, and ran the immortal Qi refining technique to consolidate his state without any impatience. After a while, he entered an ethereal and selfless state again. Time passed and the night passed quickly. As the morning light faded, Ling Feng got up to collect chalcedony dew for Duanwu Qingshan. This was the last day that chalcedony dew was needed. After today, the sword energy remaining in Duanwu Qingshan's body will be completely eradicated. In less than half a moment, Ling Feng collected a bamboo tube of flower dew and sent it to Duanwu Qingshan. Duanwu Qingshan was obviously very excited and stayed up all night. He took the bamboo tube and drank it in one gulp. He had no doubts about Ling Feng's medical skills. After all, even after 10 years of hard work, he could not alleviate the deterioration of the true energy in his body. However, Ling Feng used just 2 months to heal his injuries. It's under control and getting better little by little. At noon, when the yang qi is at its last, it is the best time to eliminate the cold sword qi. Ling Feng could see the excitement on Master's face. He had been waiting for one day for too long. Being tortured by the sword energy was secondary. His realm was dragged down by the sword energy, and he fell a little bit, resulting in no hope of revenge. This was the thing he hated the most. Xiao Feng, thank you. Duanwu Qingshan raised his hand and put it on Ling Feng's shoulder. When he was at his most desperate, Ling Feng appeared and his fate took a huge turn. Between master and disciple, there is no need to say thank you. Ling Feng smiled lightly. He helped Duanwu Qingshan. Why didn't Duanwu Qingshan help him? As soon as he bowed to the mountain gate, he was looked down upon by the peak masters and elders, who even wanted to throw him to the outer gate. If Duanwu Qingshan hadn't granted him the questioning immortal Qi refining technique, if he hadn't taught him the broken star sword technique, and if he hadn't protected him with the jade order of the master, he might not be alive today. Everything has a cause and a result. It's a pity that 10 years ago, my daughter's life and death were unknown, and her whereabouts were unknown. Otherwise, my master would have betrothed my daughter to you and asked you to be my son-in-law. Duanwu Qingshan sighed, picked up the wine gourd, and drank the wine. Ling Feng touched the bridge of his nose, thinking that at Duanwu Qingshan's age, his daughter couldn't be younger. What's more, with such an alcoholic father, his daughter might also be an alcoholic. Hey, Xiao, I don't know where you are now. Duanwu Qingshan sighed again and again as he thought of the sad past. Master, it is useless to dwell on the past. As long as you can break out of the formation, you can naturally find the whereabouts of your daughter. Ling Feng paused and then said, Master, please go into the courtyard first to absorb the heat of the sun. At noon, I will give you acupuncture. Yes. Duanwu Qingshan nodded, without saying anything more, jumped up, and landed in the yard outside. He moved a bamboo chair, sat on it, and basked in the sun. Time passed little by little, and finally, the red sun in the sky rose to its peak, and noon was here. Ling Feng strode up to Duanwu Qingshan and took out a row of golden needles from his arms. Master, I will use the last acupuncture to completely eradicate the cold sword energy from your body. There may be some severe pain, so you need to be patient. The pain in your body, no matter how painful it is, will never be more unbearable than the pain in your heart. Duanwu Qingshan smiled faintly. Come on. Ling Feng nodded and took out a golden needle. The first needle directly sealed Duanwu Qingshan's heart veins. When the sword energy is eradicated, there is only the risk of going berserk, so Duanwu Qingshan's heart is sealed just in case. Everything is up to you. Duanwu Qingshan gritted his teeth. With his heart veins blocked, even a master like him could only live for about 30 breaths. In other words, Ling Feng must complete everything within 30 breaths. Ling Feng didn't say anything. He stretched out his hands, held 8 golden needles in both hands, and stabbed them out quickly at Duanwu Qingshan's heart and lungs, where the cold sword energy was hidden. Insert the needle, change the needle, inject the needle. All actions are done in one go. Duanwu Qingshan was stunned for a moment. 8 needles were fired out at once, and they were so precise and hit every acupoint quickly. Such eyesight and skill can simply be described as miraculous. He thought that he had extraordinary medical skills. In the Tianbai Empire, he could even hold a respected position like the imperial physician of the Kingdom of God. However, compared with Ling Feng, his little medical skills were almost negligible. As expected of the descendant of the medical saint, even though Ling Hanyang is dead, his medical skills have been passed down after all. Duanwu Qingshan sighed in his heart, but soon, the severe pain from his body made his brain go blank. 10 breaths. 20 breaths. Ling Feng was racing against time. If he exceeded 30 breaths, Duanwu Qingshan would die in his hands. For a doctor, life and death are controlled by his hands. Ling Feng's eyes condensed, and the 8 needles merged into one. His fingers were like a gust of wind, pinching the golden needles and piercing the last acupoint. Roar! Duanwu Qingshan let out a roar that pierced through the clouds and split the sky. It could be seen that wisps of blue-black mist were spreading around him little by little. The green mist is the sword energy left in Duanwu Qingshan's body by the previous generation of the sect leader. The black mist is the stagnation of the cold sword energy, which has spawned the viciousness in Duanwu Qingshan's body. This last needle has completely eliminated the cold and poisonous sword energy. From now on, Duanwu Qingshan will never be tortured by the cold sword energy again. Collect. Ling Feng pinched his 10 fingers and took back all the golden needles. When everything was completed, 30 breaths, no more, no less, not a minute difference. Whew! Duanwu Qingshan exhaled a long breath of turbid air, and his forehead was covered with sweat, but his complexion was very rosy, as if he was 10 years younger. I'm completely healed. Duanwu Qingshan looked inward with his spiritual consciousness and saw that the Qi Si and Dantian were clear. The cold sword energy that had been entangled with him for 10 years was finally completely eradicated. Chapter 72 Lin Xianer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'm fine, everything is fine. Duanwu Qingshan cried with joy. His strength finally returned to its peak. Maybe this is not enough for him to break out of the formation, but as long as he stays in seclusion for a period of time and his cultivation level breaks through again, he will be able to steadily break through the forbidden formation and take revenge if he has a grudge and complain if he has a grudge. Congratulations, Master. Ling Feng stepped forward and bowed, sincerely happy for Duanwu Qingshan. To him, Duanwu Qingshan was not only his master, but also the first person besides his grandfather Ling Kuan who made him feel family affection. This is all thanks to you. Duanwu Qingshan looked back at Ling Feng. You said that there is no need to say thank you between master and disciple. If you say thank you, I will not say it to you as a master. I will keep this kindness in my heart. Duanwu Qingshan looked deeply at Ling Feng. He knew that this disciple's talent would sooner or later surpass him and reach a higher realm, but before this seedling of genius has grown up, I will use all my strength to protect him. The main peak of Lucian, Lin Sanglang was reading a sword manual in the side hall. Suddenly, he felt a little uneasy. What's going on? Lin Sanlang frowned, feeling that something big was about to happen. Dad, what's wrong with you? Sitting opposite Lin Sanlang was a girl wearing a light blue dress. She had eyebrows like willow leaves and skin like gelatin. She looked like a delicate and charming beauty. Seeing Lin Sanglang's restless look, the girl couldn't help but asked curiously. Oh, it's nothing. Lin Sanlang came back to his senses, looked at the girl in blue with a smile, and said with a smile, Xianer, the sword manual you brought back this time is indeed very powerful. Of course, this is the swordsmanship passed down to me by my teacher, it can't be awesome. Lin Xianer raised her eyebrows, showing a proud look. This girl in blue is named Lin Xianer, and she is Lin Sanglang's daughter. However, even within the Wenxian sect, few people knew about Lin Sanglang's daughter. Because when she was very young, Lin Sanglang sent his daughter to a larger sect to practice. Moreover, a year ago, Lin Xianer obtained the qualification to enter Tianwei Academy for further study with her outstanding talent, and is now a student of Tianwei Academy, in the Tianbai Empire. Although there are countless sects, the paradise that all the young generation of warriors truly yearn for is the 4 universities in the imperial capital, Tianwei Academy, Deep Blue Academy, True Dragon Academy and Wenyuan Academy. These 4 universities are not sects, but martial arts schools opened with the support of the empire. As long as you are a talented warrior, whether you are a family member or a sect disciple, as long as you pass the examination of the school, you can enter a school for further study. There is only one requirement to participate in the assessment, which is to be under 24 years old. Lin Xianer passed the examination of Tianwei Academy with very excellent results and was recommended by the head of her sect. Therefore, she had a smooth journey in Tianwei Academy and had guidance from famous teachers. Even though she is only 16 years old, her strength has already reached the 7th level of pulse condensation realm. Lin Sanglang was naturally extremely satisfied with this daughter. He has great ambitions, and the small Wenxian sect cannot satisfy him. He knew that his talent was limited, so he still needed to rely on his daughter to realize his ambitions. By the way, Xianer, Tianwei Academy is the place where young talents are most concentrated in the empire. Have you chosen any young master from that school? Haha. Dad. Lin Xianer's face showed a shy look. How can a father ask his daughter like this? Ha, I'm ignoring you. Okay, don't ask. If you come back once in a while, Daddy will test your swordsmanship and see if you have improved. That's all. Humph, that's pretty much it. Lin Xianer pursed her lips, took out the sword from the space ring, and chuckled. Look at the sword. Another 3 days passed in a flash. Ling Feng stood on the top of the cliff, looking at the sea of clouds in front of him, and realized something in his heart. These days, Ling Feng's swordsmanship, perhaps influenced by the environment, or perhaps due to the influence of practicing Xiaoyao sword steps, has become more and more erratic and dreamlike. Huh, boy, I haven't seen you for a few days. Your cultivation is very good. Suddenly, a gentle voice came from far away, from far to near, and in the blink of an eye, he saw a middle-aged man wearing a dark blue robe falling behind him. Ling Feng turned around, without panicking, but showed a smile and said calmly, Senior, you are finally here. Not bad. In less than 2 months, your strength has been promoted to the 10th level of qi condensation. You are really talented. When Tingguang chuckled, I didn't expect that the little Wenxian sect could also appear. A genius like you. Senior, that's ridiculous. Ling Feng waved his hand modestly, thinking that it would be great if he could have a treasure to hide his cultivation. Otherwise, his strength would be obvious to those masters, and there would be no secrets at all. When your cultivation level is low, it doesn't matter if you make faster progress, but when your level is high in the future, I'm afraid it will be difficult to hide the secret of the Eye of the Emperor. After all, once the human divine pattern is condensed, it can absorb spiritual energy 100 times faster. Okay, judging from your appearance, you should be ready, right? When Tingguang chuckled, and when he saw that Ling Feng didn't run away, he thought highly of him. After all, he said last time that if he couldn't cure the noble man, he would destroy his arm. Although this sentence contained a certain amount of intimidation, Ling Feng was unaware of it. Well, I can leave at any time, Junior. Ling Feng nodded. After the sword energy in Duanmu Qingshan's body was eradicated, he immediately began to retreat and attack the divine origin realm with all his strength. If he succeeds in breaking through, it will undoubtedly be a great thing for both himself and Ling Feng. A backer in the Huayuan realm may not be that big of a deal, but a backer in the Xinyuan realm does have a certain weight. Okay, I'll take you away now. When Tingguang sighed, the noble man's condition has worsened recently and needs urgent treatment. Many Taoist doctors have already rushed there, although I don't think much of you either. But it's okay to take you to try. When Tingguang said and grabbed Ling Feng, although Ling Feng's strength has improved by leaps and bounds in the past 2 months, he is still pitifully weak in front of Wen Tingguang. Senior, I can fly by myself. Ling Feng didn't want to be carried around, so he took out the Qingling light wing given to him by Duanmu Qingshan. Although the speed was a little slower, Ling Feng didn't dare to take out the purple thunder feather found from Xianer for the time being. Okay, although the speed is slower, I can still make do with it. When Tingguang pursed his lips, but did not forcefully catch Ling Feng, after a while, the two of them flew high into the sky and disappeared into the sea of clouds. By the way, Senior, who do you want to take me to treat? Ling Feng couldn't help but ask while flying in the air. A big shot that you can't imagine. When Tingguang smiled mysteriously, okay, you'll find out when you get there. Chapter 73 Cangqiong Mountain, Cangqiong Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The place when Tingguang wanted to take Ling Feng to was surprisingly far away. At the beginning, Ling Feng activated the Qingling light wing and could barely keep up with Wen Tingguang. However, after half a day, the energy in his body was depleted and he could no longer activate the Qingling light wing. Boy, you are quite stubborn. Wen Tingguang had turned around and looked at Ling Feng from time to time. He wanted to see how long such a boy in the Qi condensation realm could fly. However, Ling Feng persisted far longer than he imagined. Seeing Ling Feng's face flushed and panting, Wen Tingguang's figure flashed to Ling Feng's side and burst into laughter. How about it, now you won't refuse my help? Bar? Ling Feng felt helpless and could only nod his head. Thank you, Senior. Wen Tingguang raised his eyebrows, grabbed Ling Feng's shoulders, and said with a faint smile, Boy, we should speed up. Before he finished speaking, Wen Tingguang grabbed Ling Feng, and his speed suddenly increased a lot. He could only hear the roar of the wind in his ears, and the scene in front of him was rapidly moving backwards like the stars are changing. Only then did Ling Feng realize that Wen Tingguang had been moving forward. You are accommodating yourself. Ling Feng took a deep breath and asked again, Senior can always tell me where we are going, right? The northern suburbs of the imperial capital, Cangqiong Mountain. Cangqiong Mountain. Ling Feng was stunned. Obviously he had never heard of this name. However, he did remember that Yu Yunlan seemed to be the eldest lady of the Cangqiong sect, Cangqiong Mountain, and the Cangqiong sect. Could there be some connection between the two? If Wen Tingguang knew what Ling Feng was thinking at this moment, he would probably spit out a mouthful of blood. There are still such ignorant people in this world, and they didn't even react when they heard about Cangqiong Mountain. Cangqiong Mountain is naturally the gate of Cangqiong sect. Otherwise, which other mountain in the Tianbai Empire would dare to be named with the word Cangqiong? As the divine sect that protects the country, there is no doubt about the strength of the Cangqiong sect. In addition, the Cangqiong sect is in charge of the Imperial Divine Guard camp and controls the Empire's supreme divine power, which is simply not comparable to that of ordinary sects and aristocratic families. It turned out that Wen Tingguang was a confidant of the leader of the Cangqiong sect, secretly searching for famous doctors and good medicines for him. It happened that Yu Yunlan was also looking around for clues about various Taoist doctors in order to treat his father's illness, and both of them happened to be found Ling Feng. What a coincidence. When Tingguang led Ling Feng across 7 counties, which could be said to be non-stop day and night, even so, with Wen Tingguang's speed, it still took him 3 days and 3 nights to reach the northern suburbs of the imperial capital. It is said to be the northern suburbs, but in fact it is not a wilderness, but a very large and magnificent city. The imperial capital of the Tianbai Empire itself is already very large, comparable to several counties and cities. Besides the imperial capital, there are several large 1,000-year-old cities, all of which are controlled by some powerful families in the imperial capital. To the north of the northern suburbs, about 300 miles away, there is a holy mountain that is extremely rich in spiritual energy. That is the destination of this trip, Cangqiong Mountain. The perimeter of Cangqiong Mountain is heavily guarded, and even the ordinary gatekeeper disciples are actually above the 7th level of Qi condensation realm. Such warriors can already become inner disciples of the Wenxian sect, and they are also high-status inner disciples. After a while, when Tingguang and Ling Feng landed outside the mountain gate, they were still thousands of meters away from Cangqiong Mountain, and sentries had already been set up. Who is coming? Thought the disciples guarding the mountain were heavily guarded. When they saw two figures falling, they immediately stepped forward to inquire. They looked majestic and had a faint sense of pride that they were from a large sect. When Tingguang took out a token from his sleeve, the disciple guarding the mountain's eyes lit up, and he said calmly, "Can I go in?" It turns out to be Mr. Wengu. "Please come in." That when the Shoshan disciples saw Wen Tingguang's identity token, they immediately became extremely respectful, nodding and bowing in a respectful manner. "Yes." Wen Tingguang nodded, looked back at Ling Feng, and said calmly, "Let's go." Ling Feng narrowed his eyes and followed Wen Tingguang, but he had some doubts in his heart. This Wen Tingguang obviously has a high status in the Cangqiong sect, and what kind of noble status does a person who is called a big shot by Wen Tingguang have? The strength of such a character has probably reached a level that I can't even imagine. A master like this wouldn't need to ask a doctor to treat an ordinary sword wound. It seems that this patient is quite difficult. Ling Feng thought to himself, warriors defy heaven and take their lives in order to get rid of mortal illnesses and the shackles of longevity. Therefore, the more advanced and powerful a person is, his internal organs have been tempered to a great extent, and he will rarely be troubled by diseases. Of course, once symptoms appear, they may become very serious and serious illnesses. When Tingguang saw the worried look on Ling Feng's face, turned around and said with a smile, "Boy, you don't need to have any psychological burden. Although I said last time that if you can't cure that noble man, I will use up your hands, so that's okay. I'm just scaring you. If it can be cured, it would be best, but it can't be cured." When Tingguang said and couldn't help but sigh, "It's best to be cured. I'll do my best." After hearing Wen Tingguang's words, Ling Feng breathed a sigh of relief. But on the other hand, Ling Feng was also curious about what kind of strange disease it was that was so difficult to cure. Looking past the disciples guarding the mountain, Ling Feng saw a huge sword-shaped stone tablet standing in the center of the mountain gate. On the stone tablet, 3 characters of Cangqiong sect were engraved with flying phoenixes. The Sky Sect. Ling Feng's eyelids twitched and he was secretly surprised. It's really the Sky Sect. Ling Feng smiled bitterly in his heart, wondering if the person Wen Tingguang wanted to treat was the same person Yu Yunlan asked him to treat. When Tingguang finally stopped as he walked forward until he reached a loft suspended in mid-air, Ling Feng took a closer look and found that under the floating attic, there were 6 giant pillars made of gold and jade. The 6 giant pillars seemed to form some kind of strange ancient formation, which would gather together the vitality of the world. Around the attic, about every 33 feet, there is a similar attic, suspended in mid-air. There are a total of 7 or 49 attics, which seem to present a strange image of stars connecting across the sky. These 49 pavilions are arranged in another mysterious formation, with an angry bullfighting, like a dragon or a tiger. Not only that, there are similar layouts in the 4 directions of east, west, south and north, and the layout of each side is different. Such an exquisite design and such a huge project, I really don't know how many formation masters have spent the efforts to finally achieve it. Completed. What a big deal. Ling Feng couldn't help but sigh. In comparison, the main hall of Wenxian sect is not as good as any of the attics. When Tingguang was used to seeing such scenes, but he didn't feel anything at all. He was secretly amused. After all, he was a boy who had never seen the world. He raised his eyebrows, interrupted Ling Feng's exclamation, and said lightly, "Okay, let's go in." "Yes." Ling Feng took a deep breath. He could vaguely guess how noble the people inside would be. However, no matter who he is, as long as he asks himself to treat a disease, he is just a patient. The life of any patient is the same in his eyes, and there is no distinction between high and low, thanks to the wind, you. I like you, free man, Chen Hunli's reward, thank you, please vote. Chapter 74, A Family of Taoist Doctors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as he entered the attic, Wen Tingguang's expression immediately became much more serious. Wen Tingguang stood with his hands behind his back, leading Ling Feng to stride forward. Outside the main hall, many cultivation masters gathered, and the aura exuded by many of them was not inferior to that of Lin Songlang or even Duanwu Qingshan. Seeing Wen Tingguang coming in, many warriors in the hall quickly stepped forward to salute. Mr. Wenj. Mr. Wengu is finally back. How about Mr. Gu, is there anything gained from this? That Wen Tingguang lined up the crowd and ignored them. He just led Ling Feng through the hall and into a relatively quiet corridor on the left. After a while, the two of them walked outside a waterside pavilion with a very quiet and elegant environment. A maid immediately came to greet them, bowed and said softly, I have met Mr. Wengu. How is the sect leader? Wen Tingguang frowned, with a worried look on his face. The maid did not dare to neglect, and quickly replied, the slave girl only knows that Mr. Lu Gu is young. Many doctors from Taoist medical families have come here, and even the youngest imperial doctor from the Kingdom of God has been invited. Now he is treating the sect master. Diagnosis and treatment, but the results are not yet known. The youngest doctor of the Kingdom of God. Wen Tingguang nodded. He himself was quite accomplished in medical skills, and he had heard of the name of the doctor of the Kingdom of God. The man's name was Sun Si, and he was a descendant of the Su family, a Taoist medical family. Since the founding of the Tianbai Empire, the Sun family had been the imperial doctors of the empire for generations, and their reputation was very resounding. Originally, the illness of the leader of the Cangqiong sect should not be known to outsiders. Asking the royal doctor of the Kingdom of God would run the risk of leaking the secret. After all, in the empire, there is tranquility on the surface, but in fact there are undercurrents. Many dignitaries even believe that the existence of the Sky sect has curbed their interests. If these people learn that the leader of the Cangqiong sect is seriously ill, they might use some tricks to suppress the Cangqiong sect status in the empire. However, as the sect master's condition worsened, Mr. Lu Gu could not take care of much, and finally invited the imperial doctor of the Kingdom of God to come. Relatively speaking, the Sun family is a Taoist medical family with a history of thousands of years, and has always boasted a high moral integrity, so this Sun Si should not casually leak the news that the Cangqiong sect leader is ill. I hope it can be of some use. Wen Tingguang snorted, frowned and sighed. The children of those Taoist medical families are getting worse from generation to generation. They always think that they are from a Taoist medical family, and they are arrogant and arrogant. They are really talented and learned. How many more are there? The maid just listened and didn't dare to say anything. When Go Lao couldn't afford to offend him, and the descendant of a Taoist medical family was also not someone she, a little maid, could talk about. Okay, take me in. Wen Tingguang said lightly. Yes, Mr. Gu, please come with me. The young maid bowed and walked quickly through the quiet corridor with Wen Tingguang and Ling Feng. Ling Feng began to think secretly in his heart, listening to the words of the maid and Wen Tingguang. It seemed that the person he wanted to treat this time was indeed an important person, the leader of the Cangqiong sect. Isn't that you Yunlan's father? After a while, the maid stopped outside the waterside pavilion. This is the place where the leader of the Cangqiong sect specializes in training. It is very clean and few people can come here on weekdays. The lord of the clan is on the second floor, and there are many highly respected doctors waiting on the first floor. The maid bowed and said. Yes, I understand. Wen Tingguang said lightly, then led Ling Feng, opened the door and walked into the waterside pavilion. As soon as we entered the attic, a lot of people gathered inside. There were about 6 or 7 groups of people, all carrying medicine boxes on their backs, and exuding a faint aroma of elixirs. These people all know each other and are talking to each other. Sometimes they are called Huatua and sometimes they are called Biennial. Each one has a scary name. Although Ling Feng is the successor of the medical saint, he has never been involved in the circle of imperial doctors of the Kingdom of God. and he doesn't know many miracle doctors. However, judging from his experience traveling around with Ling Feng to practice medicine, most of the so-called miracle doctors have a false reputation. The occasional few who are capable are far inferior to his own Tai Xian acupuncture technique. Seeing Wen walking in with a young man, everyone looked over. One of the fat middle-aged men narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "Mr. Wengu, who is this person you brought? Is it your nephew?" It turns out to be the miracle doctor Jin Kuei. Wen obviously knew the man. He bowed to him and replied calmly, "This guy is not my nephew, but the doctor I invited to treat the sect leader." "A doctor?" The middle-aged fat man took a look at Ling Feng and found that Ling Feng had some medicinal aroma on his body. He should be someone who has been exposed to various medicinal materials all year round. However, he couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Speaking of Mr. Wenj, you are so sick that you seek medical treatment in a hurry. What ability can this kid have?" Another horse-faced doctor also teased. "Ha, a doctor who doesn't even have a Taoist medical medal. I don't know where he learned the wild fox Zen." Among the wild men walking on the roadside, "Mr. Wenj, you probably don't know how to do it. Have you been cheated? Ha ha ha." In the attic, the miracle doctors couldn't help laughing. They were all descendants of various great medical families, but they had never seen a person like Ling Feng, so they naturally despised Ling Feng. "Yi Langzhong. Yi Hu Zhen." Ling Feng took a deep breath and said calmly, "Medical skills are not just words." "Hey, you guys really dare to say that?" The middle-aged fat man said with a disdainful smile, "I am the 17th generation descendant of the Jin family, a family of Taoist doctors." "Jin Kuei, what about you? You are definitely qualified to question here." "My words. I am a descendant of the Hua family, a Taoist medical family. I am a descendant of the Li family, a Taoist medical family. I am." In the attic, all the famous doctors announced their identities, with an extremely proud look on their faces. All Taoist medical families have been inherited for more than 1,000 years, and at least 3 generations have served as imperial doctors of the kingdom of God. Only such a family can be called a Taoist medical family. Ling Feng smiled faintly, raised his head and looked directly at the mocking eyes, and said word by word, "Then, may I ask everyone, has anyone cured the sect leader?" This. In silence, a doctor who claimed to be a descendant of a Taoist medical family was speechless. They had all diagnosed the Cangqiong sect leader, but they were completely helpless. At this time, 3 figures came down from the stairs on the 2nd floor. The first person was an old man with white hair and beard. Behind the old man, there were a man and a woman. They all looked very young, but they exuded a sense of youthfulness. From the strong aroma of the elixir, it was obvious that both of them were doctors with considerable medical skills. The white-haired old man saw Wen at a glance, narrowed his eyes, and said in a nonchalant manner, "It turns out to be Mr. Wengu. Is this kid the doctor you brought?" Wen ignored the white-haired old man, but turned to Ling Feng and said, "Boy, come up with me." Ling Feng nodded. How good his medical skills are is not something that these self-righteous heirs of a Taoist medical family can judge. "Thank you for the reward, thank you for your support. Please add it to your favorites and give me a recommendation vote." Chapter 75. Can you cure it? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing that Wen ignored him, the white-haired old man frowned and snorted, "Wen, what am I asking you? The sect master has a strange disease and his body is getting weaker. What did you bring? He doesn't even have a moral medal. Is he still a doctor?" The white-haired old man was none other than Lu Hongzhang, the old Lu Gu mentioned by the maid who led the way. Lu Hongzhang and Wen had similar positions in the Cangqiong sect and similar strengths. The two were mortal enemies and were hostile at every turn, both overtly and covertly. Lu Hongzhang's eyes were sharp and aggressive. "This is the place where the master of the sect rests. No other people are allowed to enter. You'd better let such a wild boy go back to where he came from, and give him some money to spend." Ling Feng frowned slightly. This white-haired old man completely regarded himself as a beggar. Wen stopped, raised his head and glared at Lu Hongzhang, frowning and said, "Do I need your approval, Mr. Lu Gu, for whomever I bring?" Besides, you are just bringing a young boy, how do you know who he is? Are your medical skills better than the people I brought? Ha ha ha. Lu Hongjing burst into laughter, turned around and said to the young man beside him, "Nephew, see, someone is questioning your medical skills." In the hall, the descendants from various great medical families all burst out laughing. Don't they even know the youngest imperial doctor of the Kingdom of God in the Empire? It's really ridiculous. Does that kind of wild boy on the roadside deserve to be compared with Sun Si, the heir of the Sun family? He's not even worthy of carrying Sun Si's shoes. The merciless taunts came one after another, making Wen Tingguang's face feel hot and he lost all face. Lu Hongzhang, on the other hand, had a proud look on his face and started teasing, "My dear nephew, take out your token, lest anyone compare you to that kind of wild man with unknown origins." Giggle. But a girl in green clothes standing next to Sun Si took out a token from her arms and said calmly, "Brother, your token is with me." This girl is Sun Si's junior sister, named Lu Yi. She has been adopted by the Sun family since she was a child. She has a deep admiration for this talented senior brother. At this moment, this handsome man and beautiful woman stood together, as if they were a golden boy and a beautiful girl, making everyone enviable. Sun Si raised his hand to take the token, and without looking at Ling Feng, he showed the token and saw the words "The Royal Physician of the Kingdom of God" written on it. The Royal Physician of the Kingdom of God is not only a symbol of status, but also the highest honor of Taoist medicine. Even those children of the first Taoist medical family must pass many tests if they want to obtain the token of the Kingdom of God's Royal Physician. Generally speaking, those who can receive this honor are senior Taoist doctors who are over 40 years old, and this Sun Si, who is only 19 years old, has already won the supreme honor of the Royal Physician of the Kingdom of God, which shows how outstanding his medical talent is. I am Sun Si, the 33rd generation descendant of the Sun family, a family of Taoist doctors. And you, why don't you declare your family status? While talking, Sun Si never looked at Ling Feng in the eyes, and his disdainful expression was undisguised. I don't have a brand, and I don't have any family background. Ling Feng looked indifferent. He didn't even look at Sun Si, and just said calmly, "What I have is the medical skills to treat people." Ha ha ha, you are indeed a wild man. Damn, a wild fox then actually came here to cheat me with food and drink. The hall burst into laughter, and the girl next to Sun Si laughed so hard that she couldn't even stand upright. You're not even a Taoist doctor. What are you doing here? Are you humiliating yourself? Ling Feng narrowed his eyes slightly. Although this girl looked good, it was a pity that she was just a climber. Without the token, you can't treat illnesses and save people. Ling Feng smiled proudly. Without that token, you won't be able to cut pulses and apply acupuncture. Let me say it again, I am a doctor, and I am here to treat illnesses. What a loud tone. Sun Si sneered and finally looked at Ling Feng for the first time. Without the medal of Taoist medicine, and without the token of the Royal Physician of the Kingdom of God, with your little ability, you can just treat ordinary people. The sect leader's body of thousands of gold is not for a lowly person like you to treat. Get out. Oh. Ling Feng retorted, according to your opinion, even if you put a token on a pig, it is still a doctor and can become the royal doctor of the Kingdom of God. You are brave. Lu Yi frowned. This wild boy actually dared to mock his senior brother as a pig. She pulled out a soft sword from her waist and was about to stab Ling Feng. A hot breath wrapped around the blade. This girl's cultivation had suddenly reached the pulse condensation realm. Ling Feng narrowed his eyes and held down his space spirit ring with his right hand. Presumptuous. Wen Tingguang flicked his finger, and a wisp of wind blew the girl's soft sword away. You dare to use the sword in the place where the sect leader is meditating? You are too reckless. Sun Si turned around and glared at Lu Yi, then bowed his hands to Wen Tingguang and said, Mr. Wenj, my junior sister is young and ignorant, please don't blame me. Humph. Wen Tingguang flicked his sleeves, looked at Mr. Lu Gu beside him, and said coldly, Lu Hongzhang, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Lu Hongzhang stood on the steps and asked, Wen Tingguang, you are getting more and more confused. How can I let such a wild boy with unknown origins in to treat the sect leader? If something goes wrong, can you take the responsibility? That Wen Tingguang was about to open his mouth to refute, but found that he had nothing to say. Indeed, he knew that Ling Feng was a disciple of the Qingshan sect, but what was Qingshan sect? Just a third-rate sect. But Ling Feng took a step forward and said calmly, then, may I ask this imperial doctor of the kingdom of God, can you treat me? One sentence made Lu Hongzhang choked, it also made Sun Si's face feel hot, he can't cure it. Even though he has the reputation of being the youngest imperial doctor of the kingdom of God in the empire, and the most outstanding child of the Sun family, a 1,000-year-old family, his medical skills still cannot cure the strange disease of the Cangqiong sect leader. There is no cure for the sect leader's disease. Sun Si was silent for a moment and said through gritted teeth. How brave. Wen Tingguang stared at Sun Si angrily, don't think that just because you are from the Sun family, you can talk nonsense here. That Lu Hongzhang responded with a slap on Sun Si's face, stop talking nonsense. That Lu Hongzhang's complexion turned livid. Although this Sun Si had excellent medical skills, he was still too young after all. How could he say such words after being provoked by Ling Feng? Even if the sect leader really has no cure, he can't say it. Isn't this a curse that the sect leader must die? He is not the only Taoist doctor in the world, how dare he say such a thing? Only then did Sun Si realize that he had made a mistake. He was slapped by Lu Hongzhang and did not dare to get angry. He just stared at Ling Feng coldly, obviously taking the blame for this on Ling Feng. This junior made a mistake. The sect master is not incurable, but this junior cannot cure it. He clenched his fists, stared at Ling Feng, gritted his teeth and said, I dare to say that he can't cure the sect master's disease. Whether it can be cured or not, it doesn't matter what you say. Ling Feng smiled faintly, whether I can cure it, let me go in and try it, and I will naturally know. Thank you, Gore, for the reward, thank you for your support, please add it to your favorites, please vote for recommendations. Chapter 76 Master of Cangqiong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Are you worthy? You are just. Lu Hongzhang wanted to say something about his status, but was interrupted by Ling Feng. Why, what are you worried about? Ling Feng's eyes were filled with a hint of joking, or are you afraid that I will cure the sect master? As the pavilion elder of Cangqiong sect, you actually harbor evil intentions? You bastard, you fart. Lu Hongzhang felt like his lungs were going to explode. Lu Hongzhang's beard trembled with Ling Feng's anger. He clapped his big hand, and a strong vitality condensed in his palm, and slapped Ling Feng's head heavily with his palm. Such majestic vitality was enough to kill Ling Feng in an instant, even if he did not perform any martial arts. Ling Feng is just a wild boy without any background and status. If he kills, he will kill. This Lu Hongzhang's strength was unfathomable, and it was definitely not something Ling Feng could resist. He felt like an ancient sacred mountain was suppressing him, and he was almost breathless. Lu Hongzhang, what do you want to do? That when Wen Tingguang saw Lu Hongzhang attacking Ling Feng, he immediately stretched out his hand to grab Ling Feng and grabbed Ling Feng. The next moment, he raised his hand and struck a blow with Lu Hongzhang, kick, kick, kick. The two masters with strong cultivation levels each took a few steps back, and they were vaguely evenly matched. Okay. Lu Hongzhang clenched his fists, boy, I want to see if you have any ability to cure the sect leader's strange disease. After that, he made way for Wen Tingguang to take Ling Feng up the stairs. Humph. Wen Tingguang flicked his sleeves, pulled Ling Feng, jumped over Lu Hongzhang, and quickly climbed to the second floor. Seeing Ling Feng's back disappear, the descendants of the medical families in the hall were all stunned. That wild boy actually went up to see the sect leader. Sun Si's eyes were cold, and he gritted his teeth and said, Humph, you want to cure the sect master's strange disease? If you can do it, I will eat the medicine box. He was absolutely certain in his heart that with Ling Feng's ability, it would be impossible to cure the sect leader. Well, after all, when he went up to diagnose the sect leader's pulse, he couldn't even find out the cause, let alone cure him. It's impossible for a wild boy like you to cure a disease that even senior brother you can't cure. Lu Yi hummed softly. That's natural, just a low-ranking wild man. Sun Si led Lu Yi to a seat next to him and sat down. Despite his tough words, Sun Si still didn't leave first. On the one hand, he wanted to know the result. On the other hand, if Ling Feng couldn't cure the sect leader's strange disease, he must find a way to kill this wild boy. I believe Mr. Lu Gu will be happy to get rid of that kid. When Tingguang led Ling Feng up to the second floor. After going around several times, he finally entered a room filled with various medicinal fragrances. En Shenmu. Cangqiong. Perilla grass. Ling Feng moved his nose and sniffed out a lot of rare and precious medicines, which are the kind of medicines that calm the mind and help sleep. You have a pretty good nose, kid. When Tingguang smiled faintly and looked back at Ling Feng. So far so good. Boy, you really dare to say that. When Tingguang curled his lips and said, you are the first to make that old boy Lu Hongzhang so angry in so many years. If you are disrespectful when you are old, you will be disrespectful when you are young. Ling Feng said lightly, if he is kind to you, I will not deliberately contradict him. Ha ha ha, you kid has such an appetite for me. When Tingguang patted Ling Feng on the shoulder and said, but when you treat the sect master later, don't speak out. If you can cure it, of course it's best. You can't just look at that boy from the Sun family and talk nonsense. Of course, but I think I can cure it. Ling Feng's eyes were filled with confidence. If he can't even be cured by his Tai Xian acupuncture technique, then there is really no cure in the world. A few steps further, when Tingguang walked to the private room at the far end of the second floor, this elegant room is filled with various ink paintings, including landscape paintings, strange mountains and rocks, flowers, plants and trees. Although Ling Feng didn't know how to draw, he could feel that those rocks and trees had a vague edge. To them, these paintings must have been painted by a talented general. In the outer room, there were two delicate maids, cooking medicine and burning incense. They were both gentle and cautious. Mr. Wenj. Seeing Wen Tingguang coming in, they quickly saluted Wen Tingguang. Wen Tingguang nodded slightly and led Ling Feng into the inner room. Passing by a jade screen, there is a large carved mahogany bed, with two maids serving at the head and end of the bed. Looking serious, Ling Feng could clearly feel that these two maids were completely different from ordinary maids. There was a chilling air between their eyebrows. Obviously, they are not simple maids, but figures similar to personal bodyguards. The leader of the Cangqiong sect is in a period of extreme weakness, so the existence of these guards is very necessary. In addition, there was a middle-aged woman in gorgeous clothes, sitting on the edge of the bed, looking worriedly at a pale-faced middle-aged man on the bed. With some red and swollen eyes, it seems that she should be the wife of the Cangqiong sect leader. When Tingguang was walking 10 steps away, stopped, and bowed respectfully. Your Majesty. When Tingguang, see the sect master, see the sect master's wife. Ling Feng also bowed quickly, but didn't say much. It's Mr. Wenj. A man's voice came from inside. Although he was very weak, he still had an aura that was not angry but powerful. Honglian, help me up. The man said lightly, but the middle-aged woman advised, Sect Master, you'd better have a good rest. Yes, Sect Master, just listen to Madam. Wen Tingguang also quickly advised. Hey! The man on the bed sighed, with a strong sense of desolation and sadness. Ling Feng could feel a kind of unwillingness to be lonely, like dying before your ambitions are fulfilled. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. I don't know how long I can drag on with this broken body. I can only lament that the empire is suffering from internal and external troubles and is in a precarious state. Sect Master Jiren Tianxiang, everything will be fine. When Tingguang said quickly, I have invited an excellent doctor this time, please let him take a look first. Come on. A thin arm stretched out from the bead curtain. It was wrinkled and skinny. Ling Feng's brows twitched. The sect leader's voice was clearly middle-aged. How could he be aging so horribly? He hurriedly took a few steps forward and said in a deep voice, I'll check your pulse first. Thank you. Hong Lian, the sect leader's wife, glanced at Ling Feng and sighed secretly in her heart when she saw that he was young, no more than 20 years old at most. In the past few days, even the best doctors of the Kingdom of God in the Empire were helpless and could only prescribe some prescriptions to soothe the nerves. Just now, the genius doctor who claimed to be the youngest doctor of the Kingdom of God still returned without success. This young man, I'm afraid he doesn't have much ability. However, even if there is only a slight chance, she will not give up. Ling Feng couldn't help but be stunned for a moment when he saw the appearance of the sect master's wife. They are so similar. This sect leader's wife is at least 70% similar to Yu Yunlan, but she has a more mature charm. If they stood together and said they were sisters, I am afraid some people would believe it. Ling Feng stared at the sect master's wife and looked at her. It was obviously not a decent thing to do. A maid next to her brought a stool over and said calmly, "Please." Ling Feng took a deep breath and smiled apologetically at the sect leader's wife. "Sorry, I have met Miss Yu twice before. I found that the sect leader's wife and Miss Yu are very similar, so I was temporarily distracted." "You mean, Loner?" Hong Lian was stunned for a moment and then understood. Yu Yunlan always likes to wander around, so it is not surprising that this young man has seen Yu Yunlan. Ling Feng nodded, then said no more, put his hand on the wrist of the Cangqiong sect leader, and began to diagnose his pulse. P.S. Thank you, Gore, for your reward support. Thank you, boss. Chapter 77 50% sure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a while, Ling Feng frowned. Weird. Very weird. The leader of the Cangqiong sect was obviously aging abnormally, but he could not diagnose what was wrong with him. No wonder so many Taoist doctors are helpless. It is indeed a strange disease, a very strange disease. Seeing Ling Feng's frown, the sect leader's wife sighed. The other doctors all had this expression after diagnosing the sect leader's pulse. Sure enough, this young man still couldn't cure the sect master's strange disease. Why? Even Wen Tingguang couldn't help but sigh in his heart. After all, he is just a teenager. No matter how advanced his medical skills are, he cannot be superior to the Taoist doctor outside who is known as the youngest Taoist doctor in the empire. I have some vague speculations about the sect leader's illness. However, what surprised everyone was that Ling Feng actually said such a sentence. A ray of light flashed through the turbid eyes of the Cangqiong sect leader, and he looked at Ling Feng with difficulty. Can you cure my disease? I don't know yet, I need to make sure again. Ling Feng said lightly. You are the same as them. The leader of the Cangqiong sect shook his head. That's it, that's all, go down. This sect will not punish you, so you don't need to bear any burden. It's not that I have any burden. Ling Feng said calmly, please restrain the real power in your body, sect master. I need to use golden needles to analyze the cause of sect master's illness. Okay. The Cangqiong sect leader took a deep breath, and then leaned on the bed with Ling Feng's support. Sect master, I'm offended. Ling Feng untied the blouse of the leader of the Cangqiong sect, and immediately took out 2 golden needles. He struck them like lightning and pierced the Tiantu and Xuanji acupoints respectively. The golden needle trembled slightly, and Ling Feng listened intently. How about? The Cangqiong sect leader said weakly. Please don't talk. Ling Feng frowned, with some seriousness in his voice. The leader of the Cangqiong sect couldn't help but look at Ling Feng a few more times. How dare this boy talk to him like this? Could it be that in his eyes, even he, the leader of the Cangqiong sect, who is inferior to one person and superior to tens of millions of people, is just a patient? Interesting, really interesting. For a long time, Ling Feng's brows wrinkled tighter and tighter. What is this? Ling Feng clearly heard it, 2 heartbeats, 2 pulses. Although they are almost identical, there are still subtle differences. How is this possible? How is this possible? This is simply unheard of. Ling Feng's words made everyone in the room tense. The sect leader's wife quickly asked, what's wrong? Young master, do you see anything? It's tricky. Ling Feng's eyes were fixed on the Cangqiong sect leader. The leader's vitality is being eroded, and the vitality diagram has been damaged by 90%. That the so-called vitality map is the trajectory of a person's life. This kind of trajectory can only be seen by Taoist doctors. The more the veins of the vitality diagram shrink, the life will soon be exhausted. The leader of the Cangqiong sect should have been in the prime of his life, and his vitality should be as vigorous as a big leafy tree. But now, he is like a withered and decaying dead tree, crumbling. It can be said unceremoniously that if he was not a strong martial artist, just because his vitality map was so incomplete, it could be concluded that he would definitely die. No wonder Sun Ce said before that the Cangqiong sect leader had no cure. The vitality map is 90% incomplete. I won't survive next year. Right? The leader of the Cangqiong sect smiled lightly. Without much surprise, other Taoist doctors have said similar things. Normally speaking, yes. Ling Feng nodded. So, can you cure it? The sect master asked calmly. I'm 50% sure. Ling Feng stared into the eyes of the Cangqiong sect leader. As long as the sect leader cooperates, I'm 50% sure. Master, are you serious about this? The eyes of the sect leader's wife lit up, with a glimmer of hope flashing through her eyes. Other Taoist doctors would only shake their heads, but Ling Feng dared to say that he was 50% sure. Boy, don't talk nonsense. Mtlnovel's eyelids jumped wildly, and he felt a little unbelievable. I never speak big words. Ling Feng still looked at the Cangqiong sect leader. As long as the leader is willing to believe me, I am 50% sure. Ling Feng had already seen that there was a foreign object lurking in the body of the Cangqiong sect leader. It should be said to be something similar to a parasite, but this foreign object is very smart. It actually knows how to simulate its own heart rate to the same frequency as the master of the Sky sect. It can even be turned into a ball of vitality and mixed with the vitality within the Cangqiong sect. In this way, no matter how high your medical skills are, you will not be able to discover its existence. Therefore, ordinary Taoist doctors can only see the dilapidated vitality diagram of the Cangqiong sect leader and are helpless, but Ling Feng has a way to complete the vitality map and change his destiny. But the premise is that the foreign object in the Cangqiong sect must be removed. Otherwise, even if he renews the life of the Cangqiong sect, the foreign object will still eat away at his vitality bit by bit. Countless thoughts flashed through Ling Feng's mind, but he finally thought of an extremely risky method: predatory eyes. Opening the eye of predation can definitely remove foreign objects from the body of the Sky sect, but there is also a certain risk that the Sky sect leader may also be sucked dry. However, it is not that there is no way to deal with it. Ling Feng has mastered the Taoist acupuncture, which has a way to seal the soul, vitality, and vitality of the human body in the body. In this way, the risk of using the eye of plunder will be much smaller, but it is not absolutely error-free. In other words, this is a gamble. The leader of the Cangqiong sect looked at Ling Feng, and when he saw Ling Feng's determined eyes, he nodded. Believe you. Ling Feng smiled faintly. Okay. Then, there are some things that the leader has the right to know. You tell me. My method is a bit risky. Ling Feng said slowly, I need 3 days to seal the soul, spirit, and spirit of the leader. After 3 days, I can treat the leader. The treatment process has certain risks. If it succeeds, the leader's strange disease can be cured. But if it fails? What will happen if it fails? It was the leader's wife who asked first. Death. Ling Feng did not hide it and told the truth. If he fails, his essence will be plundered by his plundering eyes, and the sect master will not only die, but also die miserably. How dare you? The maids on both sides looked at Ling Feng coldly. Stinky boy, shut up. Mtlnovel was very anxious. How dare this boy gamble with the sect master's life? All retreat. The sect master waved his hand with difficulty, dismissed the maids on both sides, and looked at Ling Feng. This sect is willing to give it a try. In his current situation, he will not live more than half a year at most. What's wrong with taking a risk? Sect master. The sect master's wife grabbed the sect master's sleeve and shook her head repeatedly, with tears in her eyes. Sect master, this is absolutely not allowed. Wen also clenched his fists. Although Ling Feng was brought by him, can he really trust the sect master to hand over his life to such a young boy? I've made up my mind. The leader looked at Ling Feng gently. Little brother, what's your name? Ling Feng. Ling Feng answered the question of the leader of the Cangqiong sect, and then said, what about you? Me. The leader of the Cangqiong sect was slightly stunned. Is there anyone in the world who doesn't know his own name? He paused and said lightly, this sect, Yu Zhonglian, thanks to Gui'er, for the reward and support, thank you again. Please vote and collect. Chapter 78, Gold and Jade on the outside, but ruins on the inside. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since the sect master has agreed to my method, I will seal the soul of the sect master on the first day. After sealing the soul, he will be no different from the living dead. Ling Feng took out a row of golden needles from his arms and said slowly, when the soul, and spirit are all sealed, the sect master will fall into a state of suspended animation. My treatment time is only half an hour. If it exceeds half an hour, suspended death will become real death, so I hope that no one is allowed to come near this place while I am being treated, and no one can disturb me. I wonder if the sect master can guarantee this. Ling Feng stared at Yu Zhonglian, not treating him as a superior sect leader, but just a terminally ill patient. Of course. Yu Zhonglian nodded, looked at everyone, and said slowly, for these 3 days, just let Mr. Ling stay. The others can leave temporarily. No. Sect master, I. With tears in her eyes, the sect master's wife grabbed Yu Zhonglian's sleeve and refused to let go. It can be seen that they are indeed in love. Honglian, please leave too. Yu Zhonglian smiled lightly, it's only 3 days. Madam of the sect master, please believe me. Ling Feng looked at the sect master's wife and said solemnly, Miss Yu is my friend. She once came to me to treat a relative. I think she should have come to me to treat the sect master. Don't worry, I will do my best to prevent Miss Yu from losing her father. That the sect leader's wife took a deep breath, looked back at Yu Zhonglian, and finally nodded, with tears in her eyes, and slowly left with the maids in the room. When Tingguang clenched his fists and wanted to say something, but he didn't know where to start. This is indeed a gamble, but if you don't take a gamble, there will be no chance of a comeback. Boy, no, Ling Feng, you must not make any mistakes. I will do my best. Ling Feng nodded. This treatment was also a gamble for him. If Yu Zhonglian died in his hands, Ling Feng didn't think anyone from the Cangqiong sect would let him go easily. However, since he agreed to treatment, he would not stand idly by to protect himself. This is the dignity that belongs to a doctor, and it is also what his grandfather Ling Kun taught him since he was a child. Hey! When Tingguang flicked his sleeves, turned around and walked out of the room, the maid who was originally in the room had retreated 100 meters away to guard her, while the sect leader's wife had already left with the maid in tears. When Tingguang went downstairs, and everyone below looked at the entrance of the corridor, when the sect master's wife left just now, she was in a hurry, and no one dared to stop the sect master's wife to ask questions. However, the sect master's wife has always been waiting for the sect master. Why did she suddenly leave? Moreover, Ling Feng and Wen Tingguang had not come down since they had been up there for so long. All this made the descendants of the Taoist medical families in the hall puzzled. It's been so long, why haven't you come out? Lu Yi frowned and looked at the stairs from time to time. Sun Si snorted coldly. I think he has no ability to cure the sect master at all, so he deliberately delays the pulse. It's nothing more than trying to make a mystery, and it's a little trick. Sun Si is also a Taoist doctor, so he can naturally see that the vitality diagram of the Cangqiong sect leader has been damaged by 90%. In this situation, it is simply that the medicine and stone have no effect, and there is no way to save the day. That's right, even senior brother can't tell what the disease is, so what else can this kid do? This kind of person cheats and likes to pretend that he has no ability. It's really funny. Lu Yi looked sarcastic. At this moment, Qiong had reached the stairs, but Ling Feng did not come down. Out. Pairs of eyes were fixed on Qiong. Lu Galao blocked the stairs with a quick stride. He didn't see Ling Feng and frowned. Where's that kid? The sect master is being treated. No one is allowed to disturb him for 3 days, otherwise, he will be shot without mercy. Qiong snorted softly. He was not going to leave for the next 3 days. He would just stay here to prevent the young people from causing trouble. What? Treatment? Sun Si laughed loudly. Treat the sect leader. How can he treat that kind of wild boy? What, do you have any objections? Qiong raised his eyebrows and stared at Sun Si. This is simply impossible. The merger of the sect masters is simply impossible to cure. Sun Si shook his head crazily. He was the youngest Taoist doctor in the Tianbai Empire. Why could such a wild boy treat a disease that he was powerless to cure? Well done. Shut up. Before Qiong could reprimand him, he saw Mr. Lu Gu slapped him hard and cursed in his heart. This idiot, isn't he cursing the sect master with his words? How dare he say such unbridled words? Lu Hongzhang. Anger surged in Sun Si's eyes. Old guy, don't forget that I am a descendant of the Sun family, not your grandson. I respect you as the same generation as my grandfather, and I call you senior. How dare you should I fight like a grandson? As a genius of the Sun family, Sun Si has been favored by the family since he was a child. He has his own arrogance and can endure the first slap, but cannot bear the second slap. You brat, if it weren't for your grandfather's sake, I would kill you just because you talk nonsense a few times. Lu Hongzhang's face darkened. This junior of the Sun family is really incompetent. With this kind of character, it will be difficult for him to achieve great things after all. Okay. 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 Sun Si clenched his fists tightly, flicked his sleeves, and gritted his teeth and said, You actually think that the medical skills of that wild boy are comparable to that of me, Sun Si? It's really ridiculous. Humph, junior sister, we walk. Sun Si no longer had the shame to stay here. He hated Lu Hongzhang in his heart for ignoring his face and slapping him twice, but he hated Ling Feng even more. He hated him to the core of his bones. It was Ling Feng's appearance that made him lose face. He secretly swore in his heart that he would repay today's shame twice as much. Lu Hongzhang shook his head and sighed in his heart. This kind of boy who grew up in good times has no ambition and is nothing more than an embroidered pillow. He originally thought that this boy was a man of great talent, but now it seems that he is nothing more than gold and jade on the outside and ruins on the inside. Snort. Not long after Sun Si left, Lu Hongzhang also waved his sleeves, glared at Qiong, and left the waterside pavilion immediately. The descendants of the Taoist medical families in the hall all stood there blankly, their minds filled with disbelief. That wild man, can he cure the sect leader? It's impossible. He's clearly not even a Taoist doctor, and he doesn't have a doctor's medal. Even those apprentices in small medical clinics at least have an apprentice medal. Is he trying to fool the sect leader? Are you stupid? Are you fooling the lord of the sect? Can you do it? Maybe you will lose your life. Just to get angry with that Sun Si, you will lose your life. Idiots are not that stupid. Those miracle doctors were whispering for a while. Qiong listened impatiently, frowned, and said coldly, Since someone is already treating the sect leader, doctors, please come back. Qiong issued an order to expel the guests, and those miracle doctors did not stay any longer. They said goodbye to Qiong and left the waterside pavilion. After watching the descendants of the Taoist medical families leave, Qiong sighed softly, looked up at a window sill on the second floor, and sighed softly, 3 days. P.S. Thank you, ToNGKY, for your reward support, thank you. Please add it to your favorites and vote for recommendations. In addition, it should be accelerated to 3 updates in a few days. This depends on the editor's recommendation arrangement. Chapter 79 Conferred God Pulse Formation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As all the descendants of the Taoist medical families left, the waterside pavilion returned to purity and tranquility. In the elegant room on the second floor, Ling Feng did not give Yu Zhonglian acupuncture immediately. He still had some questions to ask before giving the acupuncture. Yu Zhonglian was lying flat on the bed. His face was as thin as his body, with a very unhealthy paleness. He is obviously only a middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s, but he already looks like a haggard old man. Sect Master, may I take the liberty to ask a few questions? But it doesn't matter. Yu Zhonglian turned his head to Ling Feng. Although he was very weak, every word he spoke was filled with an aura of calmness and self-power. Perhaps this is the domineering spirit that can only be cultivated by being in a high position for a long time. Since when did the Sect Master suddenly accelerate his aging? It's been 3 years. The sect leader can remember where he went and what unusual things happened 3 years ago. Yu Zhonglian lay on the bed, meditated for a moment, and said slowly, Southern Xinjiang, 100,000 mountains. Ling Feng took a deep breath. That is the border of the eastern spiritual realm, and the areas to the south belong to the realm of the demon clan. 3 years ago, I led the Divine Guard battalion to suppress the border rebellion and strayed into a dangerous place. Although I got out by luck, within a few months after that, I contracted this strange aging disease. Even after swallowing a large number of natural materials and earthly treasures can only barely survive. Yes, the source of the strange disease that the sect master contracted was probably that dangerous place. Ling Feng said slowly, according to the diagnosis I just made, there is an alien worm in the sect master's body. It is this worm that eats away at the sect master's vitality. The day it breaks out of the sect master's body, I'm afraid it will be the sect master's death. Day. Insects. Yu Zhonglian sighed softly. What alien insects can actually lurk in our body and cannot even be detected by so many Taoist doctors? Perhaps the younger generation is less talented and less knowledgeable. This kind of insect has never been heard of by the younger generation. Ling Feng shook his head. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you just don't know. Okay, little brother, just go ahead and apply the acupuncture. No matter what the result is, this sect will not let others embarrass you. Yu Zhonglian said lightly. I try my best. Ling Feng took a deep breath, quickly took out the golden needle, and said calmly, Sect Master, I'm offended, that the first step is to seal the soul of the Cangqiong sect leader in his body. This step is not difficult for Ling Feng. Ling Feng's fingers were like a gust of wind, and he quickly sealed all 8 of Yu Zhonglian's extraordinary meridians. The last needle was directly buried deeply into the Baihui point on the top of Yu Zhonglian's head. The God-sealing pulse formation, completed. Half a quarter of an hour later, Ling Feng slowly exhaled a breath of turbid air. Yu Zhonglian, who was on the bed, had closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. At this moment, he is already a living dead. The second day after Ling Feng came to the Cangqiong sect, the eldest lady of the Cangqiong sect, Yu Yunlan, returned to the sect. Accompanying her, in addition to the cute and well-behaved maid Xiaoqiao, were 2 middle-aged men with medicine boxes on their backs and doctors' medals tattooed on their shoulders. These 2 people were famous doctors she had found from various places and brought back specifically to treat her father's illness. Even within the Cangqiong sect, only some senior officials knew about the news that the leader of the Cangqiong sect had a strange disease. As early as more than half a year ago, Yu Zhonglian had handed over the affairs of the sect to a few close elders, and he himself announced that he was practicing in seclusion. Although there have been rumors from the outside world for a long time, they are just speculations. After all, every doctor who comes to secretly diagnose and treat the Cangqiong sect's leader must swear a blood oath not to reveal the leader's condition. If he disobeys, he will be punished by heaven and earth. As soon as he returned to the sect, Yu Yunlan hurriedly took 2 doctors and went straight to the waterside pavilion where Yu Zhonglian was resting. However, before she could get close, she was stopped by a maid. Miss, the sect leader has ordered that no one can approach Qingshui Xiaozhu in the past few days. What? Yu Yunlan frowned, and then asked, what happened? A young doctor came here a few days ago. He said that there is a way to cure the sect master's strange disease, but no one is allowed to disturb him for 3 days. The maid thought for a while and added, today is already the second day. A young doctor. Yu Yunlan blinked, is it the Sun Si from the Sun family who is known as the youngest Taoist doctor in the empire? It wasn't him. Mr. Sun also came here, but he left soon. Oh, by the way, I remember it was a young man named Ling Feng. He said he had a way to cure the sect master. Ling Feng. Ling Feng, Yu Yunlan and Xiaoxiao exclaimed at the same time. The master and servant looked at each other with a hint of disbelief in their eyes. Miss, can it be that Ling Feng? I still want to ask you, Yu Yunlan also blinked. He hadn't gone to pick him up yet, but he came to the door on his own initiative. At this moment, a middle-aged man was seen walking out of the waterside pavilion. It was Wen Tingguang. Wen Tingguang heard another noisy noise outside and was about to come over to chase it away. Unexpectedly, Miss Yu was back. Isn't this girl Lan? Wen Tingguang saw Yu Yunlan followed by two doctors and knew her purpose. He said from a distance, Girl Lan, you can ask the two doctors to go back. There is already a boy above. I'm treating the sect leader. Yu Yunlan moved lightly, walked up to Wen Tingguang, and said coquettishly, Uncle Wen, can I really not go in? No one can. Wen Tingguang grimaced, shook his head and said, even the sect master's wife has returned to Shi Pavilion. My eldest lady, you should wait outside obediently and don't cause trouble. Even mother left. Not bad. Wen Tingguang nodded, suddenly remembered something, smiled and said, Girl Lan, do you know a boy named Ling Feng? Well, when I passed by the Xianzhou mountains last time, I met a disciple of the Wenxian sect. His name is Ling Feng. Yu Yunlan nodded and said, I was also planning to bring him back to treat my father's illness, but he said that he had to deal with other people. A senior has made a promise, are you the senior? He. Wen Tingguang laughed and said, I'm still wondering why that boy said he was your friend. It turns out that he is really the one up there treating his father. A hint of joy flashed in Yu Yunlan's eyes, no wonder he said he was the successor of the medical saint. It turns out it's all true. Heir of the medical saint. Wen Tingguang's eyelids twitched, Girl Lan, who do you think that kid is? Heir of the medical saint. Well, heir to the medical saint. Xiaoxiao came skipping behind him, Mr. Wengu, are you not so old that you can't hear clearly? Medical saint. Medical saint. Wen Tingguang muttered a few words, Medical Saint Ling Hanyang. Ling Feng. Oh. Why didn't I think of it earlier? After a long time, Wen Tingguang slapped his forehead and said, I said that boy is not simple. He turns out to be a descendant of the medical saint. Huh, compared with him, what do those juniors from a Taoist medical family mean? He said comparing the holy medical skills, those so-called Taoist medical families, they are the Yehu Chans. Ha ha ha. In the Tianbai Empire, there are hundreds of imperial doctors from the kingdom of God, and there are also hundreds of Taoist medical families scattered throughout the empire. But since Ling Hanyang disappeared, no one can bear the title of medical saint. Unexpectedly, after 20 years, the successor of the medical saint finally appeared. P.S. Thanks again to Guor for your reward support. Thank you. Please add it to your favorites and vote. Chapter 80 Zerg. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Wen Tingguang's dissuasion, Yu Yunlan finally stopped messing around and returned to Shi Pavilion to wait for the result with her mother. Seeing Yu Yunlan's happy look, Wen Tingguang didn't dare to tell Yu Yunlan what Ling Feng was only 50% sure of. He could only silently hope in his heart that Ling Feng had better succeed. Time passed and it was the third day, on the second floor of Shuixi, in the room where Yu Zhonglian rests. It's the third day. Ling Feng slowly stood up from the cushion and took a deep breath. The most critical moment has arrived. In the past 2 days, Ling Feng completed the soul sealing and soul sealing for Yu Zhonglian. Today, after sealing the Yuanling for Yu Zhonglian, he can use his plundering eyes to catch the insect hidden in Yu Zhonglian's body. The insect seemed invisible and had no substance. It could be transformed into vitality, and it seemed as illusory as a soul. Even if Yu Zhonglian was disemboweled, it would be impossible to remove it using ordinary means, with only his own plundering eyes. Once he locks onto the chi of the insect, there is absolutely no way for the insect to escape. Although Ling Feng had only used the Eye of Predation once, he also knew how terrifying this thing was. After supporting the living dead on the bed, Ling Feng sat cross-legged in front of Yu Zhonglian. At this moment, Yu Zhonglian's upper body was covered with rows of golden needles, like a hedgehog. When Ling Feng completes the spirit sealing formation, Yu Zhonglian will enter a temporary state of suspended animation. Only in this state, when the Eye of Predation cannot sense Yu Zhonglian's vitality, can it accurately lock on the vitality of the insect and capture it. This was the only way Ling Feng could think of. Although it was a desperate move, it was also the best way. Otherwise, even if he completes the vitality map for Yu Zhonglian, it will only give the Zerg more vitality. Tanzhong. Jiuwei. Giant Tower. Divine Tower. Qihai. Guanyuan. Ling Feng shot the golden needles directly into various key points of Yu Zhonglian. Even though Yu Zhonglian was already in the state of the living dead, he still showed a very painful expression on his face. The last shot, Shenting. Ling Feng held the golden needle between his two fingers and stabbed it straight into the Shenting point on Yu Zhonglian's forehead. In an instant, Yu Zhonglian's breathing, heartbeat, and pulse all stopped. His body quickly became cold, and he entered a state of suspended animation, without any hope of life. It's now. Ling Feng took a deep breath and activated the lingering blood energy in his Dantian Qi Si, which was the key to activating the predatory eye. The blood gradually surged, and Ling Feng felt his mind swell. His forehead seemed to be torn apart violently. A blood-colored bead, like a scarlet eye, was embedded in Ling Feng's forehead. This is Ling Feng's third false eye, the predatory eye. Suppressing the bloodthirsty impulse in his heart, Ling Feng looked at Yu Zhonglian's suspended body. Bloodthirsty. Plunder. Ling Feng let out a low roar, and the void in front of his eyes tore open. He stretched out his invisible magic hand and grabbed Yu Zhonglian directly from the top of his head into his body. Everything was as Ling Feng expected. The void magic hand did not sense Yu Zhonglian's vitality, but discovered another life form hidden in Yu Zhonglian's body. The demonic hand of nothingness erupted in dim light, directly covering Yu Zhonglian's entire body, leaving the insect with nowhere to hide. Time passed little by little, and Ling Feng's forehead started to sweat slightly. The insect was actually able to evade the lock of the void demonic hand and escape again and again. Ling Feng felt dizzy in his mind. He was almost unable to maintain his predatory eyes. Fortunately, just when Ling Feng was about to collapse, a strange squeak sound came from Yu Zhonglian's body. The demonic void's hand pinched the insect and began to devour it mercilessly. However, at the moment when the demonic hands of nothingness grabbed the insects out of Yu Zhonglian's body, Ling Feng realized that his true energy was completely consumed and was no longer enough to maintain his predatory eyes. The cracks in the void quickly closed, and the demonic hand of nothingness retracted into the void. But the insect actually escaped death and escaped. The Zerg fell on the bed, turned over, and wanted to escape. Ling Feng had quick eyes and quick hands and stabbed out a needle, piercing it and nailing it to the bed. Zhizhi. The insects made a series of strange screams, and in Ling Feng's mind, a childlike cry for mercy actually appeared. Let me go, let me go. Please. Ling Feng's eyelids twitched and he looked at the struggling insect in disbelief. This insect is about the size of a thumb, and its whole body is like purple crystal, crystal clear. There is a thick carapace on the back and a total of 6 legs. The front limbs are a pair of larger long pincers, a bit like a scorpion. It is indeed an unheard of alien species. Is it you who's talking? Ling Feng stared at the insect and couldn't help but ask. It's me, it's me. Let me go, please. The Zerg twisted its body and tried to break away from the golden needle. The squeaking sound in its mouth was transformed into human language and appeared in Ling Feng's mind. Who are you? Ling Feng twisted the golden needle and brought the insect close to his eyes. Then, he actually saw that this little bug actually had a very human face, and it actually looked a little bit cute. I don't know what I am. I only know that I have been sleeping since I was born. The insect's voice was very childish, even a little milky, which easily made people feel soft. I had the heart to kill it. If others saw Ling Feng holding a bug and talking to himself, they would probably think of him as a lunatic. Then why did you want to harm this person? Ling Feng pointed at the fainting Yu Zhonglian and asked coldly. Because I'm hungry. Zerg blinked and looked at Ling Feng pitifully. I was sleeping well, who let this guy wake me up? So I jumped on him and wanted to bite him, but who knows what happened. I got into his body. I wanted to get out, but I couldn't get out. I was hungry, so of course I needed to eat. I'm hungry, eat something. Ling Feng jerked the corner of his mouth a few times. The food of this Zerg is actually human life. In other words, it means eating longevity directly. Then how can you communicate with me? I don't know either. It suddenly worked out when I was anxious. As long as you're anxious. Ling Feng looked at the little insect in disbelief, and 4 words came to his mind: extraordinary talent. I'm afraid this little guy has a great background. Sorry, since you have hurt humans, I can only get rid of you. Ling Feng took a deep breath. Although what he saw at this moment was really unbelievable, he calmed down quickly, because his eye of Shura and eye of plunder are even more incredible than this insect. Damn it, do you have any sympathy? I'm still a child. Zerg cried loudly, you bully people, you bad guy. Ling Feng's head went dark. This little bug would be the first to complain. No, he's not a human at all. No, if I don't get rid of you, you will harm others again. Ling Feng grimaced. In fact, he no longer planned to destroy this insect, but wanted to take this gifted little guy for his own use. The Yuan seizing blood bead also contains a large amount of monster essence, which he cannot use directly, and this little guy should still be a monster in nature, since the Yuan seizing blood bead can cultivate an ordinary monster like the red-tailed fox into a monster race. Then it can definitely also cultivate this Zerg. With its spirituality and heaven-defying ability, it will definitely be a great help to him in the future, but before that, it would be much safer to deceive it into being your spiritual pet. Thanks to Feng Lu Xiangong and Chen Heinli for their reward support. Thank you.